Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. This may not apply to you depending on your location, the situation of your rotation, but I know something very funny. I've been watching the Canadian budget because there's a few programs in it that interest me greatly. And the funny thing about the Canadian budget, I'm not sure about the United States budget, the United Kingdom, or anybody else, but the Canadian fiscal year begins on April 1st. That's a little bit weird on itself because they don't get their income tax revenue in until the end of April. That being said, we all know governments have ways to borrow money, make money up, all sorts of treasury bonds and T-bills and stuff like that. The other curious thing that I discovered is they don't tender a budget until April 16th. So imagine, you're a government agency. Let's assume you're one of the good ones like helping handicapped people or, supervising hospitals or something like that where people want money. And they do charitable thing. Well, charitable's the wrong word. Let's leave the word charity out. They actually accomplish things with it. What happens in that period from April 1st till April 16th? And that's assuming the government tables it and everybody unanimously immediately votes on it and says, yes, we all approve. We know governments never do that. Some little tin pot politician from, kicking horse pass in the middle of nowhere wants to have his 5 minutes of fame and he's going to do it or she's going to do it or any other gender is going to do it based on the budget because the entire world is watching. We have arguably between 2 and 4 federal parties up here. The Conservatives, want to guess who they represent? The Liberals, want to guess who they represent? The Bloc Québécois, whose essential purpose is to break apart Canada and create an independent state for Quebec. Yes, this is a federal party, right at the highest level, and they do get a decent amount of votes. Quebec, say what you will about it, but is one of the most populous provinces in Canada. And then you have the NDP, the New Democratic Party. They represent the common people, supposedly. This is all theoretical, you understand. You know how radically different these interests are? Like, one party wants nothing to do with Canada, but they will take your money. One party is supposedly representing the common person's interests, but they never really have the power to break through aside from being the official opposition. The Liberals and the Conservatives basically trade back and forth what they're going to do. The Conservatives are, of course, claim to be fiscally responsible, but somehow manage to always overspend. And the Liberals are the Liberals. They believe they're the party that should be in power, and this might be their final budget that they're tabling. Now, in the budget, there's a few interesting initiatives. There's $150 billion being set aside for the military. Wow, that's a significant increase. Canada's military basically keeps everything going with chewing gum and duct tape. That's what we're famous for. When I was in the military back in the 90s, we were just getting our first M16s. I was using the old ANPRC 25 radio set, which you may recognize if you watch any of the Vietnam War pictures. Yes, in the 90s I was using that radio. The nice thing about this is if you get new equipment, people are going to be more likely to sign up. And if people sign up, you need to build more houses. And very frequently, those houses and barracks and stuff get converted over to townhouses and condominiums long term. In some cases, extremely long term. So while the military doesn't seem to directly benefit the people around them, it does. The people on base still want to go out and have a coffee or pick up groceries because there's only so much you can get at the Canex. The Canex does a great job, but it's like your local place. You got to go to Longo's because they have better fish. Then you got to go to Fortino's because they got the cut of steak that you want. And it's kind of the same with the military. On base, this is what you're getting. Off base, you're getting other things. The other interesting thing is Bill C-22, and I'm going to have to call it that. Basically, the idea was people getting a disability pension are not getting enough. And that's true. I'm going to tell you that let's take disabled people, severely autistic, nonverbal, people who are paralyzed and stuff like that. Yeah, they get about $1,200 a month, roughly. It depends on the calculation of when you were injured, how you were injured, or not injured, when you were disabled, how you were disabled, stuff like that. Well, they've created a second benefit to go alongside it. Yeah, because it made no sense whatsoever to just make the old benefit have more money. No, we got to create a second benefit. Good news is the parties all support it. Whether you're conservative, whether you're an NDP, you're all polling at between 80 and 99%. They all agree on that particular part of the budget. And they've all, the estimates are somewhere between an extra $300 a month and $1,000 a month. Now, anything will be appreciated, especially as compared to nothing. But you can't help but think medication's expensive. It ain't going down. And the disabled, and I'm not talking about the people scamming the system. Let's just pretend everybody's honest, because I really don't want to go down that hole today about the people scamming the system. That's for the investigators to figure out. But the people who are actually suffering, like people that cannot walk down the street without suffering severe problems, agoraphobics and things like that, it's hard for them to get services in. Yes, Canada has a whole bunch of disability services, but they're stretched to the maximum. And fortunately, it's 2024. You can get a lot of services, but you gotta pay for them. And what happens when you get multiple disabilities? So you get somebody who's, let's pick a disability and mix it with diabetes or a heart condition or something where you need a specialized diet. Well, now you're not living off hot dogs and macaroni and cheese anymore. You got to mix yourself in some lettuce, something that's going to add vitamins to your food. That's a lot more expensive. Trust me, I know. I love my vegetables, I love my food, but past couple of years has gotten expensive. But if this budget gets delayed, these people's payments get delayed. I'd like to tell you that everything will be okay and there'll be a big lump sum coming to make up for however long it's delayed. But no, the people in charge of the program are like, we still might need another year to put this program together. No, you don't. And they make it such a big deal. You know what you do? You continue your application processes as is because this is a supplemental benefit. You take your current list of people on disability, copy, paste it into the new list of people to get the supplemental benefit. Yeah, Control C, Control V. That's simple. And I had something else I was talking to this particular person about, but I joked. I bet everybody in your department knows how to do a copy and paste. And the gentleman said, "Yep, we all know how to do that. It would be very simple." So, what we're doing with the military and disability is all wrapped up inside all sorts of other pieces of legislation. So while this bill will be tabled on the 16th, the government's basically been operating without direction since April 1st. And what are we going to do? People who are suddenly newly qualified for benefits have to wait because, Sir John Upbottom from Kicking Horse Pass decides that he wants to complain that wildlife refuges in his area are underfunded. Wildlife refuges are important, but at the same token, there's bigger issues. Rational self-interest. People aren't going to think about that. This is the time they want to be partisan. This is the time they want to stand up for the residents of Kicking Horse Pass and complain that they haven't gotten the new roads installed that they were promised in some vague conference a number of years ago. It's frustrating for everybody else, and it's going to continue to be frustrating. All we can do is hope the budget passes quickly. I, I'm not even going to get into how they fund this stuff because you found $150 billion to give the military, and you can't give however much it is to the Canadian Disability Supplemental Fund, Bill C-22. It's a weird budget to say the least, especially for the Liberals who will ostensibly be calling an election next year. Very strange indeed. But with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button, and we'll talk to you later.